everybody. I'm Eric McLeod.
And I'm Chris Holden.
And you are listening to LowBlowRadio podcast. It is February 3rd, 2021. We just watched AEW's Beach Break. And we're going to give you our blow-by-blow of it. We're not exactly in our beach clothes. We're bundled up in our sweaters because it's not exactly beach weather up here in Canada.
Not in Ontario, not tonight. I don't think it's minus 30, but it's minus close.
That's for sure.
It's cold outside.
Didn't get all dressed up with my Hawaiians tonight or anything, but we'll celebrate Beach Break nonetheless. We kicked off the night with a tag team battle royal that's been kind of pitched and built over the last couple of weeks here, with the stipulation that the winner was going to get the title shot against the Young Bucks at Revolution, or with Young Bucks now being added to the match. If they won, they would be able to pick their opponents. What did you make of this battle royal?
I love Sammy Hagar. Another cameo by him right at the start. They can't be cheap. Tony Khan laying out the big bucks again and it was just a shame he didn't seem to understand how the match worked, or at least he thought this was for the titles. This wasn't for the titles, Sammy, for a title shot. But regardless, I thought it was good. I like the way they did it. Having, again, like you had all 6 of the inner circle in there, but there's enough friction within the group to understand why the 6 guys aren't just ganging up and systematically eliminating everybody else down to just themselves.
Yeah.
Having the 2 established Dark Order tag teams in there as well, because there are 8 other teams in there with them, doesn't really affect their odds of in their favor. Plus, they're 2 highly underdog teams. I love that it's Johnny Hunky that made it the longest, survived the furthest out of all of the Dark Order guys too. Thought that was a touch.
It was nice they got a good showing too, though. Again, the sort of the other numbered game. I'm gonna say 2 numbers short of the inner circle guys there, but at least more numbers than some of the other teams going into this, and they certainly showcase some of that here. Stu Grayson getting some really great showings with Hager there. So
and Evil Uno got some nice spotlight as well, I thought, near the end of the match, while there are less guys in the ring, so the highlight is automatically on the guys that's left too.
Yeah, I like the tag team battle royal setup. The fact that you can lose one member and the other team member doesn't have to just walk out and leave, that you're just sort of, at lesser odds to keep going. And that was a bit of a story going further, as the inner circle, were still very dominant as they would lose one member. The one tag team that was the most dominant ended up being the one winning.
Yeah, which ended up being part of the comeuppance on Sammy, because I think he felt like there was more of a bond with the sex gods and the thing they used to have together.
Yeah.
Dumped out. Oh, that was Johnny Hungy was dumped out by the Santana and Ortiz of the Dark Order, who themselves were taken out by Nick Jackson. So I'm assuming we'll see a Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz match somewhere in the next few weeks in a filler playing out of this.
Yeah,
because they're good at doing that, running off of and running out of things.
Yeah.
Cassidy taken out by the Good Brothers at ringside, which was a nice touch, I thought.
Yes, and I weren't sure where they were going to maybe get involved in this, if at all, and maybe just sort of the threat of potentially being the opponents for the Bucks and not wanting to get to that quite yet, or maybe just the comeuppance on the private party. There's all kinds of elements to the story being played out there.
It's their opponents coming up in Impact, right? That's their tag team championship contenders on that side. MJF taking advantage of Jackson at ringside and throwing him out there and disqualifying, and then him and Jericho doing the pose.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, that was fantastic. You're supposed to do it. So yeah, that was great. Jungle Boy as well. That was a good little spot with him, keeping him around for as long as he could stick it after Luchasaurus was taken out of the match. I thought that was a nice touch.
He looked strong as hell in this match too, like early on, taking everybody out, and and then they all kind of having to get their comeuppance to get him out, and then having Jungle Boy look really strong. A lot of good showings here for the different tag teams.
He seems like the kind of guy I'm really feeling like by the end of the year, if he's not on everyone's top 3 of like breakout stars of the year, they'll have done something wrong for the rest of the year, and I don't see that happening at this point. So
no, for sure.
MJF taking out Jungle Boy, then Caster got between MJF and Sammy. That was a nice bit there. Martin taking out Caster, that was good.
Yeah, they got
Y2J, Sammy and Darius Martin. That caused Sammy to go out there, and it left Y2J with Darius Martin, which I thought was an intriguing little final matchup, because for a moment I actually thought we might be seeing it is the Acclaimed, right? They're
No, that was
No,
Top
not the
Flight.
Acclaim. The Acclaim's the other guy. Sorry, Top Flight. That's right. My bad. Top Flight. I thought for a second it might actually be Top Flight going over, but then nope. Turned out you were absolutely right. You called it earlier today on our other Low Blow Radio. It's the Judas Effect, and he tossed Darius Martin out of the ring. So, what did you think of the match overall?
No, I can say I'll echo the sentiments I had earlier there, where I enjoyed the aspects of a tag team battle royal, and I thought a lot of the newer tag teams got to get a bit of showcasings there, especially the Top Flight and the Acclaim getting quite over and in different aspects, really getting utilized here. That big, I was going to say Max Caster throwing out MJF was huge for them, and then now leading to a match against Jericho and MJF. So like how, matches can be built off of this, as well as the story being driven. After seeing Matt Jackson go out, I certainly thought the Bucks' odds were certainly against them. And then as the Good Brothers were getting involved and things like that, I was certainly leaning towards more so Jericho and MJF just walking away with this, just because that's the story they've been so focused on, with the two of them finally getting together and then deciding to be a tag team and that kind of stuff. And then you obviously want to have Jericho in a big showcased match going into Revolution. Not that it wouldn't be if it was somewhere else, but why not in the tag picture as well, if that's the story they're trying to tell. So I kind of figured that was the way it was going to go, but I thought they told a good story getting there, adding to the tension of the inner circle.
For sure. The longer the Bucks were both in the ring, and especially at the moment they took Santana and Ortiz out, I started to feel like, are they going to run the gauntlet and actually get to call their challengers? And then, opening up the narrative of, are they going to actually call on FTR, or are they going to call on the Good Brothers? But then, as you said, the one Jackson got dumped out, and that was the end of that anyway.
No, great matchup. We next moved on to, was it Darby and Sting next?
Well, the Jade Cargill promo video package for her with her big muscles
just seemed
next.
Like an Under Armour video commercial, or for weights, but yes, Jade Cargill can work out. We all know. Moving on, I guess Darby Allin was coming out though with his TNT title, and Sting more so to address their street fight once again coming up at Revolution, as well as Darby's title defense next week. But they don't even get a chance to get on the mics before they're interrupted by Team Taz.
As usual, it's Taz. Has to jump in with his boys behind him. Finally, we're going to get a match out of Darby Allin next week, instead of just seeing him come out with Sting and makeup on and carrying a skateboard around. He's going to face Joey Janela for the television title, TNT title, excuse me. Team Taz, though, threatened that they're going to be there. Oh, we're going to be there, buddy. Trust me, we're going to be there. Ricky, you tell him how we're going to be there. So Ricky says, don't forget, we're going to be there. And Sting, I don't think you're the icon anymore. I don't think you're the man you used to be. So, and then he says, good luck, Darby. And that was the end of Team Taz's bit, which is fine. It's been much of, again, the very same to the last several weeks. We've seen this. It's a rinse repeat promo now with these guys. And I do like Ricky Starks a lot on the man. I think he's really good on it. And I don't dislike Taz in these spots at all. He comes over great as the manager / coach of this little gang. So it's somewhat repetitive. I
guess I can't really argue with that. I think I say hasn't turned me at all yet. I'm still intrigued and excited for it, but I do understand the sort of repetitiveness of it. I do kind of like how Ricky is kind of singling Sting out, whereas you already know that Darby and Cage have their feud. Not that Darby and Ricky don't have their back and forth as well, but just sort of have that sort of setting going into the matchup. I like that Ricky's sort of focusing on Sting, and then now Sting is focusing on Ricky as well, and you can see that he sees something in him, outside of the story, that he maybe wants to give the rub to this kid. So I'm all for that. Definitely
solidify the focus, as you said, between Ricky Starks and Sting in the street fight that's coming up. I guess maybe not a complaint per se. If I had my way, I'd have switched the Janela and Allin fight to this week, had that match on tonight's show at Beach Bash, the TNT titles on the line, and then do another promo next week again. Because again, it just feels like promo, get somebody in some action. We know it's not going to be Sting. But even the Team Taz guys, there's no reason we haven't seen them in the ring, except tonight they're told they can't be in the building or whatever. So we've got a storyline reason for them not to be allowed in a match, but then maybe the Darby one could have been tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's fair in hindsight. Maybe they could have squeezed that on here. I mean, I'm gonna say go with the argument that you always need something for next week too, right? If you gotta have if you don't have the TNT title this week, that was sort of, they tend to book it that way. You probably won't see the Bucks and Kenny as much next week, but you saw a bunch of them this week, and next week you'll get more Cody and Darby, that kind of the other side of things. You got to let everyone kind of get their screen time. So, but no, I wouldn't have been opposed to the Janela Darby match being tonight because I'm looking forward to it. But speaking of matchups, the next one we had Britt Baker taking on Thunderosa. Hey, it wasn't 9:30 when we got a women's match. I thought this was at least a good sign that they were going to give the women some time to definitely put on a fantastic match, and they definitely did. This felt like a real fight between these two.
Great change of pace from matchup from a battle royal, tag team battle royal particularly, down to a one-on-one match for the females. And yeah, feud that's been brewing for a while, well-built match, well-paced match. Brought out the best in Britt Baker to get to take on someone like Thunderosa with her skill base. Just really good stuff. Reba, Rebel, Sean as well, her role, she's just really, really taken well to this extra weapon in Baker's corner.
Yeah, for sure. Just the heater, right? Yeah, it's just they again throughout the Big Swole feud and the other stuff that Britt and Reba have been able to do, they're able to really put on this good tandem performance, and they had a real good partner there with Thunderosa. I thought this was a fantastic showing for Britt as well. We were saying this is probably one of her most showcased and marquee matchups, and she definitely shined in this for sure.
Yeah, a great Death Valley driver onto the stage, onto Baker from Thunderosa. Nice air raid crash that she hit on Thunderosa for 2. Really good sequence on that first lockjaw, trying to wrap it in. Thunderosa rolls her into a pin. She rolls her back into pinning on herself. You out of the pin, like, I'm trying to go for the lock again, and then back into a pinfall. It was a really nice, back and forth on stuff.
It plays off Thunderosa's MMA background and her grappling experience
and the wrestling.
That she would, be able to understand that, right? So
it's some of that championship pedigree.
Yeah,
right.
Game planning.
It's not just the talk of being the former NWA champion and a great women's wrestler. Every time they let her have a match that goes long, where she gets to showcase this kind of stuff, the back and forth, you're always beating that pedigree of wrestler. Yeah. So it goes to prove that in a lot of it, you don't need to have a title to be a champion or to be revered as that quality, that caliber and level of guy or gal. And she's definitely, I think, achieved that status where she's Thunderosa now. Anytime you score a win over her, that's going to have been a big deal regardless of whether or not she's holding any gold at that moment. But you could always stick her back in the title picture because she's Thunderosa. So great character to have, right? From the day they brought her in on board, whether or not they've signed her or what the deal is, great move.
Well, so I mean, regardless if they have or not, I mean, when you look, I'm going to say we haven't got to some of the bigger reveals for later on in this night, but I mean, when you look at the other companies that AEW were able to feature tonight on their card, it's outstanding. It's crazy what they're able to accomplish with their working relationships with other companies.
Realistically, it's not just AEW anymore. It is the rest of the world. It's
all elite wrestling, right?
Everyone that is not WWE can come here and compete on All Elite Wrestling. And our guys could come to your shows too.
Yeah.
So the second Death Valley driver was really nice in the ring. Baker kicks out again. That was when Rebel went fucking with the turnbuckle. That was the only problem with this match. The only problem was the finish. God damn. And it's a camera positioning fault. It's a production issue, not so much the girls. Of course, Thunderosa is going to protect her face when the finish is I have to look like I've slammed headfirst into the exposed steel turnbuckle.
Yeah.
So she goes for the protection. She just also managed to miss it by a good half a foot. And the cameras are one right in front of them. If from camera from behind, no problem. It's obvious what the angle was supposed to be, and then we can believe it, and it would have been a good finish. As it was, we see that, no, she didn't hit her head on the turnbuckle. Oh, that sucks. She's got to sell it like that. But that's wrestling. So, it didn't ruin the match for me.
No, me neither. I gotta say that just came down to, that's timing, angles. not knowing what hand she's supposed to raise up and that kind of stuff. It is what it is. So
it's camera. I honestly felt it was camera work. A different camera angle from anywhere else, and it's obvious they didn't catch one because we didn't even get a replay.
No, for sure.
They just rolled her out of the ring, and we went to the next match. I'm like, oh, that's so disappointing for them, for the girls, for the amount of work they put in and the match they put on. It was a shame that it finished on that note, but yeah. Good match.
Honest, I forgot about it basically right afterwards, so it certainly didn't.
I wrote it down. I couldn't forget.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's why you remembered. So there you go. But no, she was able to get the lockjaw there and get the finish. A good win for Britt Baker moving forward for both these women going into the women's women's elimination tournament coming up later on in February, as they had said. So looking forward to that, and both of them looking strong heading into that one.
Still definitely looking forward to the tournament. I think it's fantastic. You were the first person that I heard, including all the wrestling videos and commentaries and commentators that I watch. You were the first person that noticed the original graphic for the tournament separated America with a flag and Japanese side with the Japanese flag. I didn't hear anybody else even mention that first time. And now tonight they said it's going to be the Japanese side and rolled off 8 names of people I have never heard before in my life, except for I think one lady. And then they flipped to the American side, which is actually women from all over the world, including one from Asia. You just happen to know her already.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny, but
yeah, it is what it is. It's more the AEW women and the Joshis, but a nice way
to
play it off. But it is what it is. No, something I wish I brought up on the podcast when I noticed it is I wish we were sort of able to have talked about that before. But no, really excited for that. I can see a few of those Joshis had fought in AEW before, not all of them for sure. Looking forward to a lot of those matchups. So I think we're going to get a bunch of really fun matchups from those women, as well as the AEW side. I think they picked a lot of the strong women and the girls who have been getting a push, people like Anna Jay and things like that. So a nice kind of balance, I think.
And I think what I think most people can get excited, what I'm excited for, is I feel like it's a thrust on the women's division again. It's a focal point for it. We can have confidence that AEW are going to run with storylines coming out of it. It won't be just one, and they'll be interwoven. And this might be a real solid beginning for the women. Maybe they'll never get equal time to the men. Maybe I just don't see it. No, but to be treated at more than just the one match at 9:30, as we've said.
I was gonna say, and again, even if it is just goes back to that 9:30 match, at least that match now has stakes. If it's your tournament eliminator match, then it has stakes. It has importance. It has a reason to exist and take place, and for you to care who wins and loses and stuff like that. So all for that moving forward for the women. Tournaments are a great way to make them all kind of feel important and have a drive moving forward. So give Sheeta.
I like tournaments.
And because she's been maybe pushed a bit too hard too, and if they want to keep her as a big dominant champion, maybe now let her settle a little bit and let the women kind of catch up to her. Maybe it's not a bad idea either. So moving on the card though, Hangman Page teaming with Matt Hardy to take on the Chaos Project. We got a little video package leading into this though, which was sort of the cameraman leaning into Matt Hardy's locker room, which was talked about last week. Matt Hardy showing up in Hangman's match, inviting him that he could change in his locker room, and then more conversations then leading to this Chaos Project match, saying that they had disrupted Negative One's birthday party, and it would be a nice way to sort of maybe mend things with the Dark Order. He's not looking to, become new tag team or anything like that. He's just, we're both nice Carolina boys and let's just be friends. So what did you make of Matt Hardy and Hangman Page?
Fine. I mean, it was a fine match. Hangman looks fantastic as usual. Matt Hardy. I mean, it was great. There's no problem with the match. It's just a match.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There was nothing. I had no expectation for anything greater or lesser from it. I mean, it was an interesting way to finish it with Matt doing the tag in, and obviously Hangman not impressed, but I'll put up with it because hey, it's just this one-time deal anyway. I guess I'm left with the feeling that we're not done here, and we'll be revisiting this with Matt cajoling or forcing Hangman into a spot where he's tagging with him again, and maybe again, and by more nefarious means the next time than just asking him real nicely. So I don't think this is the end of something. I think we're at the beginning of something, and this is
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, I kind of, yeah, I like having a new kind of thing for Hangman too right now. We've done the Dark Order thing for quite a while, and
Yep.
it's got to kind of move on to something else. Matt Hardy's doing a lot of very interesting stuff right now, and I think, yeah, moving into this isn't a bad idea. And I think they had a great matchup here with Chaos Project. As always, we got to get over Hangman's lower third. It was lost $400 playing in the stocks. So, he had a lot of fun this week. All kinds of reasons to be an upset cowboy, but still hitting the buckshot. And as Chris mentioned, yes, Matt Hardy tagging himself in to then get the finish. More so putting over the ego also of Matt Hardy, as well as maybe a little bit of just sort of, dismay between the two of them. But no, a fun matchup nonetheless for the two of them, and a nice way to feature Hangman. Here on Beach Break, we had a little video pack, the cameras were in the back of AEW as they caught up with the Inner Circle, two leader guys, Chris Jericho and MJF, picking up a case of a little bit of the bubbly, and they were getting ready to celebrate with their Inner Circle boys, but didn't look like much celebration was going on.
No, the rest of the crew were in no mood to celebrate. Sammy confronts Y2J about this. It always seems like everything just works out good for you, Chris. Storms out of the room. Y2J goes to console him, and MJF says, boys, we got to talk about something. And then instructs Wardlaw to kick the cameraman out of the room because he cares about that shit. Unlike everybody else who just keeps talking and forgets the cameraman standing there. MJF smarter than everybody else, but he's better than that. He knows it. So, yeah, I thought that was a great touch. And, I mean, we're left to wonder now, what exactly did he need to have the audience with the boys about? Is it kicking Sammy out? Is it kicking Chris out? Because he's the weak one. Like, we understand why Sammy's mad, don't we, boys? Why can't Chris just let him go,
what's going to make
get
Sammy
it out of his
happy?
system?
I want us all to be together. What's going to make Sammy happy? Maybe we should get Chris out of here. No, I really liked this extra layer now added to it again, leveling into the story again. Chris being sort of stretched all ways and not being able to keep his kind of group together as MDF is infiltrating here. Being all kinds of fun. I'm actually even more so with this little seed looking more so to their tag team matchup against the Bucks now too, just because there's all this other stuff going on with them too that could play into it as well. So very, very intrigued with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on, we had finally the wedding between Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. This has been built up for, I guess, since before Miro debuted. I guess they've been talking about being engaged. And then that was sort of the tease for Miro's debut, was back when he was like, I'll be announcing my best man as the wedding is coming up soon in the new year. I'm going to have to announce my new best man. And that was the debut of Miro. So we were all like, all right, this is our sort of new introduction to Miro and this new sort of character side of him or whichever. And it's been a stale couple of months, to be honest, with the Miro character, and more so putting it on this angle in the sense of coming in as the best man, setting up the wedding, all this kind of stuff, the bachelor party, all these kind of angles and whatnot. Now, circumstances and everything else aside and whatever, the story maybe didn't play out as they intended or whichever, and maybe in the timely fashion that they intended, maybe has extended a little longer than it did, but we did finally get to it. And the most exciting thing was Father James Mitchell for me. How about you?
Yeah, Sinister Minister. That was literally the best part of this. There's no point in just shitting all over it. It's such a shame that his debut angle in AEW for Miro was essentially a duplication of his final angle in the WWE, which everybody hated so much, that he was stuck in, and he seemed to hate so much, and shit on personally when he left the company.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering, like, so left questioning him personally, like, why do you think this is better than that was? You weren't feuding with the best friends when the wedding was announced and when he was announced as the best man. That came along after. Yeah. So what was to have happened this night at the wedding? We were just going to get a wedding? And the confusion, like, about the bachelor party. We've asked ourselves, and we've talked on our other show, did it happen? Did it not happen? Did we miss it? Did we miss references? What happened? They even confused it tonight during the bid. They referenced it on commentary and said, oh, the bachelor party was great. He threw him a great bachelor party. And then Miro specifically said, I'm sorry I did not get to do bachelor party. I'm sorry I did not get you a gift.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't do a bachelor party? They don't even fucking know. Like, it was just really, really boring. Really boring. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
So,
no, it wasn't for me. And again, not all wrestling has to appeal to everybody, and I don't necessarily know who this was driving forward to. Again, I understand that maybe Orange Cassidy's character appeals to a younger audience, but I don't necessarily see this angle feeding to them either. But that's where maybe I was just trying to look at it. But again, the Sinister Minister was great. Penelope looked fantastic. Yeah, it was a wedding angle that actually had a wedding that took place. Maybe that was their swerve. Like I said on the radio, I guess the swerve on wrestling wedding angles was they actually had a wedding take place, and it really wasn't that exciting. So unfortunately, this is the story we're in. And yeah, to be honest, I was just hoping this was kind of be the end of things. It doesn't seem like it will be. You feel like we're going to get a big Orange Cassidy Miro match more than likely at Revolution or something like that, or a Dynamite coming up to sort of hopefully end things. But
we always were going to get a blow-off match to get Chuck out of being the butler. Like, that's the other part where I just felt this was so lazy from a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
On so many levels. It's Rusev's debut angle. Really? They couldn't come up or and again, there's credit. They say the talent have so much more say in what they get to do here. So maybe it was a case of people saying, we'd rather you not do it, but if this is what you want to go with, we'll let you guys run with this angle. And maybe that happened. So I don't want to say it's creative's fault. Who knows?
No, for sure. I can say this right now. All you can do is speculate, and maybe hopefully afterwards something comes out that maybe explains why it did feel so miscombobulated. Because you can't imagine this was the pitch to Miro. Hey, come sign with us, and this is the angle we're giving you. And he'd being like, absolutely. You would imagine, I hope. Yeah, you would imagine it was something else. Stuff goes wrong, and you have to just sort of try to fulfill or move on. Or again, they've faltered before in AEW. They're never a perfect company. No one ever is, and it's all about how you deal with something like this. But yeah, like I say, it's not the best for Miro, but not necessarily a burial by any means. He's still always booked very strong in his matches and that kind of stuff. I just like to see more character wise. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens with that. Moving on. So.
Yeah, maybe just stop giving him a microphone and just let him wreck people, man. Like that, I'd be fine with that again.
Yeah.
But maybe step one, stop giving him a microphone.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna say he is charismatic, but just in certain moments, right? So yeah, just it's time and place. Yeah. We had a catch up with Shaq as he was responding to Cody from last week's things on his basketball show on TNT.
Yeah, he was so serious. Did you see how serious he was when he punched that plexiglass?
Yes.
Holy shit, was he serious?
Yeah, another one again. Not for me. I didn't think they were actually going to have him wrestling or anything like that by that capacity. It doesn't feel like they have a ton of confidence in it either, in the fact that they aren't even putting it on a big pay-per-view or anything like that. It's just going to be on a showcase Dynamite. But hey, it is what it is. We'll hopefully get something entertaining out of it. It's not enough to make me turn the channel off yet.
Oh no, exactly. I mean, again, I guess I should always preface, like, anytime it sounds like I'm shit talking what they've done or I didn't enjoy an angle, I'm allowed to not enjoy a particular part of the show and still say I'm an AEW fan. Like, that's cool, I think. And I would still always, most given weeks, argue that the worst part of AEW was probably going to have been 10 times better than whatever shit I saw on Monday night, even the best part of the show. So, right, so yeah.
It's their own fault for having such a good standard of
they have a high standard of product, for sure.
Yeah. So again, when some stuff doesn't live up to it, it's ripe for criticism. So that is what
find it hard to believe. I'm going to enjoy the return of Shaquille O'Neal to the wrestling ring, despite the fact that I've said before, Cody Rhodes can carry anybody to a match.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. He's got a challenge on his hands on March the 3rd.
He certainly does. And I guess if anything else, you would imagine Jade Cargill hopefully looks good, and Red Velvet.
Red Velvet.
She's set up to take a good pin, and yeah, we'll move on from here.
Red Velvet has looked great too. I mean, if these guys do a great job with usually what they're handed, right, and what they're working with, and they knew going into this what they were building to and what they were going to be working with. What they didn't know was that Red Velvet was going to wind up in the angle instead of Brandy.
Exactly.
So to take and utilize this now as a way to launch her to that next level,
yeah,
they could be what they're doing along with Jade, right? And now you've ended up, instead of just having Jade Cargill as your one new woman star, you've got two new female stars, and you didn't even expect that going in.
Yeah, I don't know. You weren't even expecting to make one out of Red Velvet. Yeah, it's great when they're able to all of a sudden do that out of nowhere with their women's division. You can see it does get a lot of slack with not being as maybe as pushed, or the women aren't as experienced as some of the men and that kind of stuff. But again, they still try their best to get them over in certain ways. Even going back to Abaddon and Anna Jay, right? They knew the Abaddon character was enough to sort of push her over. So then why not, build that around pushing somebody else and then having her beat her in the squash, and then it made a huge star out of Anna Jay, right? So no, they do tend to put some thought into this, and then again, maybe that's just why some things feel less thought out when they don't feel as thought out as other things. Anyway, that was a little rambly, but we can move on to the next match. We had Lance Archer taking on Eddie Kingston in a rematch from last week. This time a lumberjack match, kicked off right away with these two. Basically restarting off from where they left off last week.
So I didn't get to see last week's match or show because of streaming issues, so I didn't get to do this show either. But I did read all about the slobber knocker and the great match it was, and saw your review on it. And yeah, I mean, it's what you would have expected from these two kind of guys, like that kind of affair. Yeah. My question was, with the way that they've got it set, with feeling like, again, they're all tweeners in AEW, but essentially we've been pitched that Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston are both of the heel side of things. Like, baby faces don't typically spear guys through the ceiling in the locker rooms and have Jake the Snake Roberts preaching about death and stuff as their manager. And Eddie Kingston's done some pretty heely things to people, like break up brothers and try to upset that and stuff. So yeah, all of a sudden though, there's all these lumberjacks that are heels and faces, and it's like they're trying to pick sides, and it was an awkward dynamic to have any lumberjacks at ringside, aside from Butcher and Blade, who had a vested interest in their buddy that's in the ring.
Yeah.
But the way that AEW's been structured with all these fractured things, why would anybody else want to be with them? And why is anybody? So I'm wondering why they were there until the moment Lance went flying over the top rope. And I'm like, aha, that's why you needed a lumberjack match, because 15 guys had to catch Lance Archer.
Yeah.
No,
I would certainly argue that same thing too, where again, why would these people all of a sudden want to not beat up Lance when he used to just punch every jobber he had the chance to walk in front of, and he would throw everybody around and that kind of stuff. Again, we've been seeing a different side of Lance as of late.
Yeah.
So again, and that's wrestling too. And everyone's character can change, they can evolve and become something different. And if they're trying to push a more face side of Lance Archer, then those are the kind of things that you tend to have when it's a more of a face character. But again, he hasn't done anything outside of the booking side of a face. He hasn't like cut a big face promo or done anything like that to maybe feel more baby face like. It's more just the booking side, and maybe that's just how they tend to look at their tweener characters, that they can just sort of interject them in the booking situations.
And I don't dislike that, and I especially don't dislike it when it comes to the match booking, where it just feels sometimes awkward is in situations like this, where you have an obvious group of heels as the lumberjacks on one side and an obvious group of baby faces on the other. Yeah. And in a lumberjack, the whole point is what each guy has his foils to be thrown to and his friends to be thrown to. Yeah. The ones that will help him out and the ones that will toss him back into the ring. And you left out even near the end when the brawls break out, you're like, why are some of these guys even fighting each other at ringside? They're friends. They've been fighting together before, and then at Bear Country as well. I guess he's a dark superstar.
They're a tag team, Bear Country.
Oh, okay, because they seem to have an impact in this and start making it, because I heard the name a lot, and yes. I don't think I've heard it before on Dynamite.
No, they
haven't. So that's why I had to ask about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was nice to see them getting a bit of a showing here. They've been appearing on Dark over the last couple of weeks. I'd say most notably this past Dark teaming with Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela and actually getting a win. They've more so just been enhancement guys, but definitely a sizable source, and you can tell they want to showcase them here. Seemed like maybe it was leading towards, I would imagine, a Bear Country Butcher and the Blade match in the future. Did you feel
Probably that's what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the finish was good, and I love the one-on-one psychology and match between Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer. I just didn't think it needed any of the outside shit. They're one-on-one now. We're going to a third match anyway. Yeah. So again, nothing to hate about it. Just those things that I'm left with, like, why'd you do that instead of whatever?
If you had to put a stipulation in there, it makes as much sense as anything else to just sort of, if it's going to lead to a trilogy, and that tended to be what you get from the finish here with Lance getting the win, Eddie getting the win last time, makes sense to have a third match there going forward. And yeah, if you just sort of had to mix up the monotony by adding the Lumberjacks, I would agree the last week's match was more focused on the two of them and made for a better match.
I guess what I would have done tonight different would, although it would have needed last week's result to be different. If I would have had Archer win last week, this week is the hardcore rematch, Butcher and the Blade interfere because it's hardcore, no DQ rules. So then the third match has a reason to be in the cage. Right. So you've got your built-in stiff on the third as well. I don't care that much. It was just a question of, like, this is a little bit awkward, but again, the match itself and the stuff that they do together is phenomenal. I really like both these guys, and if they want to make Archer a baby face or more that leaning tweener, he seems to fit that role just fine as well. It'll be a little odd with Jake there because he doesn't so much, but
no. And when you have someone who's been such a brutal, nasty monster like Lance Archer, you almost need someone who's a bigger dick and a bigger asshole to make them a baby face, right? If you're going to take it seriously,
for sure.
to cheer them and boo the other person. So Eddie's kind of the perfect person to put him against in that position. So really enjoying this kind of slobber knocker going forward, and we'll see what happens between the two of them. Moving on though, we get a little video package with the FTR. As we mentioned, they were pulled from the tag team battle royal earlier on in the night due to their attacks on the Jurassic Express last week. And they were none too happy in their bus.
No, none too happy at all. I was wondering at the beginning of the program, what the fuck is that noise? What is that noise? Oh my God, it's Marco Stunt tied up and gagged. Well, if you got suspended for cutting off the fucking dinosaur's horns, what kind of punishment is kidnapping going to lead to?
No doubt.
That's criminal offense, boys. This isn't just wrestling issues. You're going to jail, guys.
Yeah, the cameraman's an accessory at this point. Like, I don't know if I'm on the line now. Like
the entire production crew, everybody that watched it.
Am I a witness? Should I be calling the police? Like, I'm worried now for the FTR. What is Tully teaching though? But no, a nice way. Obviously, the feud not finished between FTR and Jurassic Express. Unsure of the reasons why the FTR had to be pulled. Even if there isn't a reason, if they just didn't want to muddy the waters of the Battle Royal, I think it was good not to have them in there now, in hindsight.
Well, I'm assuming it is storyline. If it was COVID, it's twice as bad.
Yeah, well, that's true, too.
Pull Marco into the circle. We gave your buddy COVID, motherfucker.
Coughing and licking on poor little Marco Stunt. But no, obviously we're moving on into the furthering that feud going on. I hope it doesn't, again, you never know quite now with AEW with the Shaq edition and stuff like that. But I hope it isn't necessarily a trios with Tully getting in the ring. I don't necessarily need to see that, but I guess we'll see what happens. He's been doing so much with them, like jumping in to do the pile driver. He could easily just sit on the sideline for the entire match and just come in to do the one spot, but
I got it. What, land of the match? I gotta believe if he did get in the ring, he'd be better than Shaquille O'Neal and Snoop Dogg put together had been in the last 3 months. So
that's true. I guess as far as old guys go, they're far worse off with some. So
Jake, we nearly missed. That was the other thing in that match. We nearly missed the Jake spot. He hit the guy outside the ring, and it was like barely caught on camera. The very just happening. Yeah. It's almost just like Bailey in the Rumble elimination on Sunday. Like, what's wrong with you people? Don't miss the big spots with the cameraman.
Yeah.
Anyway, good promo by the FTR. And I was just at that point thinking, like, the good promo. And please God, this is a great main event. Because I'm like, oh, man, that wedding took it all out of me. Get me back into this show and into this night. And it certainly did.
Absolutely. This was a star-studded main event. Kenny Omega teaming with his Good Brothers, having some new entrance music, really kind of getting over this new faction that they've got going here, taking on Jon Moxley, Pac, and Phoenix, who came out with all kinds of fire and mustard and ready to really get things going here. It's just, Kenny Omega himself has so much chemistry with all three of those guys. He can put on a great match with each one of them individually. And then the chemistry they were also able to show with the Good Brothers here. This match all over was just fucking awesome.
Every single matchup as they came in the ring, you're like, oh, that one-on-one would be great. Oh, this is going to be awesome. Oh, this is going to be, and then all of a sudden, without it happening, I'm like, oh, Pac and Omega again. Oh yeah, like it was just like that. It's this all-star lineup, back and forth, fantastic match, and they played it up just like that, letting every spot happen. Carl Anderson is just a joy to watch. Carl Anderson actually get to fucking wrestle again, man.
Yes, and get over strong. Like look like a really fantastic wrestler. And Luke Gallows too. I mean, his size is just
for sure,
really, really great in the ring, and they use it so well. They got the heat really good with the heel team, kind of pressuring on Moxley and Pac and Phoenix early on. But that comeback from Moxley and Pac and Phoenix, when Phoenix hit that like spin kick off the ropes on Kenny in the corner, and then Pac's hitting him in the corner, and Moxie's hitting him in the corner, and it was just, and then fucking Pac hitting that 450 on the back of Kenny as he was trying to pin Jon Moxley. You felt so bad for poor Jon Moxley, and he was just, so much insanity in this match. I loved it.
There was that, I think it was just before Gallows, if he'd been watching the Royal Rumble, he wouldn't have gotten tricked by Moxley with that pull down move on the ropes. Like that was pretty. He should have seen that coming if he'd been watching Sunday.
Or any Jon Moxley matches. He gets everybody with that.
I think he actually got Gallows out of a former Rumble with that exact move when he was Dean Ambrose. I called it the Nakajakazawa stunner by Rey Fenix on Omega. He does that massive flip into the stunner and the thing. I'm going to start calling it that.
Very nice.
Yeah. If Excalibur can make up fucking move names, so can I. There's a great gut wrench powerbomb by Omega that looked fantastic. That looked like it broke every bone in his fucking body. Like when he delivers moves, I don't know how they do that. Like how can he do it in such a way that it's perfect? He isn't literally crippling guys, because it looks like.
Because it's not like that's what you hear all the time from other people. Like, man, Kenny's just stiff as fuck, and he's a joy to wrestle, but fuck me. Like, but it seems like that's all you would hear, because it's just so physical. But he is just such a fucking master at the sport of professional wrestling.
Beautiful sequence, as you were saying, into that deadlift German suplex by Pac for the 2 count. And then Phoenix nearly launching himself into the first row. That was fantastic.
He's gonna break his ankles one of these days, but I still love that spot. Yeah,
for sure. The great that 450 splash by Pac to break up the pin was really cool. Beautiful spine buster into the Magic Killer for the 3 count. And good match, really good match, good finish, good win. We talked about the finish earlier and wondered it was a real cliffhanger style going into it, because there was no obvious way they end it. No obvious right way, no obvious wrong way. And I felt like this was just fine.
No, for sure. It made sense that Moxley, Pac, and Phoenix got enough of their kind of comeback and heat going forward, that there was enough close calls that they could have definitely kind of maybe got the win, but it was more the chemistry of Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers that was more the comeuppance here for the sort of thrown together team. Going into it there. But no, they certainly had a great showing and easily could have walked away with the win, and I'd have been fine with that too. But great to see Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers looking really strong here going forward. And then, we knew more was to come, because, they weren't putting up any graphics or anything like that as the beatdowns continued. They started taking out Phoenix after he was taken out with the Magic Killer. They beaten on Pac and Moxley as well. They get kind of chased off by Lance Archer, who is never done, I suppose, with those guys, or I guess wanting to help out. Maybe that was more the face side of Lance Archer, trying to and again, maybe I'll touch on this maybe after we get to the big reveal, but leading into just leaving Kenny and Moxley in the ring, looking like Moxie's maybe finally going to get some nice comeuppance here on Omega, but he is attacked by a outside infiltrator. Kenta has appeared here in AEW.
Yeah, another outsider. New Japan Pro Wrestling now, in the same ring as AEW and Impact Wrestling.
Yes.
Just groundbreaking, absolutely historic. And Callis will go on and on about this in character, about the history-making moments, but it should not be understated how huge that is.
Yeah.
That another former Bullet Club, current Bullet, was part of that Bullet Club for sure.
Yeah.
So he's part of the gang. But it wasn't because of that. He was clearly shaking his head as he looked up at Omega in the ring as he had his foot on Moxley. He's not too happy with Omega. This was just an attack on Mox and looking for his U.S. title.
Yeah.
But the IWGP U.S. title. That's a New Japan belt, for God's sakes. What's he doing here? Yeah. It's just fucking awesome. I love it, man. I'm going
to say you texted me right after the show. You're like, in hindsight, we should have seen this coming. And again, it was because it triggered in my head, but not till that exact moment. As soon as Kenny was standing there, or Moxley rather, was standing over Kenny, I was like, okay, they have enough time here that something's going to happen here for Moxley, his next big feud or whatever. He's going to get attacked. I'm like, who's it going to be? I'm like, oh, it'd be amazing if it was Kenta. And then he fucking ran in. I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking Kenta. Takes this fucking shit off. And I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, I can't believe this is what's happening. So whether they have that match in AEW or something, it's just so awesome to see the door being open now to the New Japan as well.
When he hit the ring, first of all, and started hitting him and he had the mask on, my initial gut reaction was like, oh, this better be good now. Like another run. And then when he did the reveal, like, oh, it is good. Like the only thing I wish he'd hit the GTS first and then unmask, because then you're going to be left with that, like, is that CM Punk? But then I guess it's maybe that, like, oh, it's just Kenta.
Yeah.
But so maybe that's why you don't do that, but it's still.
That's fair. So I think a nice reveal of the go to sleep shirt and then hitting the GTS. Moxley selling it
beautiful.
Like $1 million. Oh, just again, if it sort of definitely dipped with the wedding and things like that, not been the sort of biggest of their sort of spectacular, these like spectacle dynamites that aren't the sort of normal dynamites, didn't maybe live up to. Obviously, Winter's Coming is going to be a hard one to live up to by any stretch of Dynamite things, but I'd have to go back and look more about the last Bash at the Beach to see if it had anything, on this caliber. This main event certainly lived or helped out the whole card, though, to live up to higher expectations.
For sure. Unquestionable. The main event is what made this show fucking, this will be like canon in wrestling history now because of that finish. Yeah. And I don't think that's hyperbole. Like it's such a huge thing to have this crossover of this kind of proportion.
Got the win on AEW when Kenta from New Japan showed up, the guy who has the briefcase, to take on John Moxley, who's the New Japan U.S. Heavyweight Champion. Like, it's just, I fucking love all these webs being crossed and streams being flown together, and just
cross the
wrestling
stream.
Fan, it is just the best time to be a wrestling fan if you're into anything other than WWE. Even if you're into WWE stuff, it's good too. But like the outside stuff is making it just feel so cool and so intriguing, and just can't wait to see what's next. And that's the best part of wrestling.
Yeah, quite literally though. That is the whole. Anything can happen now in this organization, and that includes other guys that you should not see here are here and do in a real surprise too. Yeah, it really can. That extreme of anything can happen. Whereas the WWE's anything can happen is so false and contrived these days. Yeah, it's become so watered down and abused as their catchphrase that actually no, not anything can happen at all. Hey.
Well, and even to just shock and surprise fans now, because again, even in like the modern age, when guys' contracts are up, when people have been signed or they move to different places, it's easy enough to read between the lines and know where things have sort of played out and where people may end up and that kind of stuff, and can take some of the reveal luster away from a big shock thing, a moment like this. So I think having this working relationship now brings that sort of shock value back to wrestling, which had sort of been lost, and I really, really enjoy that, and it's what definitely drives me as a fan. So can't wait to see what's next.
Agreed.
All right, well, I think that wraps things up for Beach Break here on Low Blow Radio Podcast. Where can everybody hear us, Chris?
You can listen to us every weekday on 88.7 The River on the River Ride Home.
That's right. Double plugs this week. All right.
And you can hear us talk more wrestling and MMA news on The River 88.7 if you live in Ontario. 7 o'clock every Wednesday night. It is a Wednesday night. Sunday mornings again at 10. And you can catch the archives are online at 887theriver.com. And if you don't live in the province and can't get The River on the radio, 887.com also has a listen live button. You can catch us on there. Again, 7 to 8 on a Wednesday, 10 to 11 on a Sunday. And this podcast is put into podcast audio format to go out from sounder.com to all the other podcast things.
Perfect. If you're here on YouTube, thank you for watching. You can subscribe to our channel here to get all our other videos, watch our old ones, my Eric After Dark reviews, and the other stuff that happens here on the channel. Ring the little bell. It'll always let you know when the new videos go up. Get into the comments. Let us know what you thought of Beach Break and what you thought of that horrible wedding angle. And we'll be back to talk about more stuff here on Low Blow Radio Podcast next week.
Adios, amigos.